Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. I didn't hear the door open. My mind was elsewhere, lost in the warmth of the afternoon, the hush of the room, the soft rhythm of cream sliding over my thighs. It was a simple moment, innocent even, until I looked up and he was there. Frozen. Right at the doorway. His hand still resting on the knob, chest rising slightly like he'd just walked in on something sacred, or dangerous. His eyes, wide but not ashamed, locked on me not in fear, not in confusion, but like a man caught in a dream he didn't want to wake from. I was on the bed, one leg bent, the other stretched out just enough to show skin that had no business being on display for him. My robe had slipped open without me noticing. Or maybe I had noticed, but I hadn't cared. Not with the way he made the air change whenever he was near. He wasn't a boy anymore. And I wasn't blind. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was heavy, charged, like the room had suddenly become smaller, hotter, wrapped in something electric and forbidden. I could feel the heat creep up my neck as I slowly moved my hand, still slick with cream, to pull the edge of the robe across me. But I didn't rush. And neither did he. His gaze didn't wander. It devoured hungry, still, like he was memorizing every detail without saying a word. There was no apology in his eyes. Just tension. Boldness. A crackling question between us neither of us had the courage or the right to ask out loud. I cleared my throat. You could knock, you know. He didn't answer. He just stepped in, closing the door behind him with a soft click. And for a moment, I forgot to breathe. He stepped closer, slow, almost hesitant, but his eyes never wavered. That same bold gaze, now laced with something deeper, curiosity? Longing? A question he didn't know how to ask. I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, heartbeat ticking louder with every step he took. He wasn't supposed to look at me like that. Not here. Not like this. But God, wasn't it thrilling? You're staring, I said, lips curving, voice low and teasing. He finally blinked, letting out a soft breath. You didn't look like you wanted me to stop. The corner of my mouth lifted. So he noticed. Every detail. Every inch I hadn't covered fast enough. The robe, still loosely tied, the scent of vanilla from the cream lingering in the air between us. He was close now, too close. Close enough to feel the heat radiating off his skin. My fingers twitched with the urge to reach out, just to see if his jaw felt as tense as it looked. But I didn't move. Not yet. You didn't knock, I reminded, keeping my voice light, playful. I forgot how, he murmured, eyes dipping down for a fraction of a second. Wasn't expecting that view. Flattery. I raised an eyebrow. Or are you trying to distract me from the fact that you barged in? Maybe both. His voice was lower now, almost a whisper, like the room demanded secrets instead of words. We were balancing on something dangerously thin, on the edge of a line neither of us had the courage to define. The silence stretched again, but it wasn't empty. It was thick with everything unsaid. Then he spoke, voice quieter. You ever wonder what would have happened if things were different? My breath caught. That wasn't just a flirt. That was the truth, dressed in teasing clothes. I met his eyes, those deep, dark eyes full of what-ifs and maybes, and for a split second, I let the moment hang. He was standing at the edge, waiting for a sign. The door was closed behind him, and he hadn't taken a single step back. His fingers brushed against the edge of the bed so subtle, like he wasn't even aware of doing it. But I noticed. Just like I noticed the shift in his breath when he looked at me again. You're playing with fire, I whispered. He tilted his head, a slow smile teasing his lips. Maybe I like the burn. That smile, it made my pulse flutter. Made me forget, for one stupid second, that this wasn't just some forbidden fantasy. That there were lines, real ones, we weren't supposed to cross. But it was so easy to forget with him standing so close, eyes full of heat and unspoken things. I let my hand rest on the bed beside me, close enough that he could feel the invitation in the space between us. He didn't touch, but he didn't move away either. Then his voice dropped softer, darker. You know, I saw him leaving last night. Some guy. Tall. Cocky. Thought he was being sneaky. My stomach dipped. Just like that, the air changed. He wasn't teasing now. Is that why you're here? I asked, fingers curling slightly against the bedsheet. To spy. His jaw clenched. No. But maybe I wanted to see if you'd lie to me. I laughed quiet, sharp. And if I had company last night, what would it matter? He stepped closer. Too close. It shouldn't. But it does. There it was. The twist neither of us wanted to name. This wasn't just teasing. It wasn't just tension. It was possessiveness. Something dangerous growing in secret places. You think I'm yours? I asked, voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer with words. His hand hovered near mine, not quite touching, but trembling slightly. And in his silence, I heard it all. Maybe it was jealousy. Maybe it was something darker. Maybe he hated the idea of someone else seeing me this way, unguarded, soft, skin still warm from cream and memory. But the irony was, he had no claim. Just like I had no excuse for wanting him to. And yet, I leaned in. His breath brushed against my cheek now, warm, shallow, uneven. My robe shifted slightly as I moved, the satin sighing against my skin, like even the fabric knew this moment was slipping out of control. You don't get to be jealous, I whispered, but my voice cracked halfway through. He didn't answer. His hand finally reached mine light at first, like he wasn't sure he should. But when I didn't pull away, his fingers slid in between mine, slow and sure, like he'd waited too long to feel this close. Then tell me it means nothing, he murmured. Tell me you didn't think about me last night, while he was here. I flinched. The truth clung to my silence like smoke. His thumb traced along my knuckles, and I hated how much I leaned into that small touch. How badly I wanted him to keep going. It's not about who I let in, I said quietly. It's about who I couldn't stop thinking about once they left. He froze. I felt it in his stillness, in the breath he held, in the tension between us that stretched tighter than ever. You didn't answer my question, I added, barely louder than a breath. Do you think I'm yours? His hand moved then, sliding up my arm, tracing the inside of my wrist, all the way to the soft curve of my shoulder where the robe had slipped slightly. Every inch he touched felt like a promise. Or a warning. I think you want to be, he said, eyes dark and honest. The heat between us spiked. His body was closer now, knees brushing the edge of the bed, chest almost touching mine. I could smell the faint scent of his cologne, fresh and familiar, the kind that lingered in hallways after he passed. Then, just as his lips hovered near my jaw, we heard it, a soft knock at the door. My heart stopped. His head jerked slightly, eyes widening, but his hand didn't move. If anything, it gripped tighter. Who's that? I whispered, breath caught. I don't know, he whispered back, but his eyes told another story. There was something he wasn't saying. Something behind his stare, panic or guilt. The knock came again. Louder this time. And, just like that, everything we were about to do teetered on the edge of being discovered. The knock echoed again, sharper this time, followed by a voice low, male, too familiar. Hey, you in there? He tensed. His fingers tightened around mine. I recognized that voice. So did he. It was the same one he'd seen leaving the night before. I swallowed hard, pulse hammering. You said you didn't know who it was. His jaw clenched. I didn't think he'd come back. The way he said it, like he had something to lose, sent a different kind of fire rushing through me. Possessive. Raw. I told you, I whispered, leaning in closer. He meant nothing. You didn't tell me what I meant. His words hit harder than they should have. The room felt like it was spinning thick with secrets, tension, and heat that had nothing to do with the temperature. Behind the door, the voice called again. You said you'd be free today. He glanced toward the door, then back at me, like he was weighing something dangerous. Say it, he said, his voice low, gravelly. Say you want me to stay. I didn't hesitate. Stay. That was all it took. His mouth brushed against my neck, not a kiss, just a slow, reverent drag of lips that left my skin tingling. I gasped, fingers tightening around his arm. His touch moved with more urgency now, sliding up my thigh where the robe had fallen open again. Every inch he traced felt like it belonged to him already. I shouldn't want this, I breathed. But you do, he murmured, lips against my jaw. And so do I. The door handle rattled. My body tensed, but he didn't move away. He leaned in closer, chest pressed lightly against mine now, his hand sliding under the silk of my robe. You said you wouldn't lie, I whispered. I'm not, he said, brushing his lips just below my ear. But I will take what's already mine. That was the moment the handle stopped rattling. The voice outside turned cold. You're not alone, are you? I froze. His hand stilled. For one long heartbeat, the whole room went silent except for our breathing, tangled and fast. And then, like he couldn't stop himself, he kissed me. Not rushed. Not rough. Just deep, slow, full of every word we hadn't said. His other hand slid behind my back, pulling me into him, letting the robe fall from my shoulder completely. My fingers found his shirt, fisting the fabric as I gave in. Footsteps outside. Moving away. But this wasn't over. Not the moment. Not the tension. Not the secret that still lingered in his silence. Because as our lips broke apart and his forehead rested gently against mine, I saw it, guilt. Something more than just jealousy. Something he hadn't told me yet. And now, I wasn't sure I wanted to know. I felt his breath falter against my skin. That kiss, it didn't just stir something inside me, it unraveled everything. All the restraint, all the tension we'd built, all the silent rules we'd pretended to follow, gone. I pulled him closer, burying my hands in his shirt, tugging him down to me until our foreheads touched again. His nose brushed mine, soft, trembling. He was holding back, but barely. I waited, he whispered. For you to tell me I could want you. I blinked against the burn behind my eyes. And now? I can't stop. His lips found mine again, deeper this time. Hungrier. His hands cupped my face like I was fragile and fierce all at once, and I kissed him back like I'd been aching for it longer than I'd ever admit. There was no fear now. No lines. His hand skimmed down my waist, pulling me up slightly, our bodies aligned, every curve pressing where it shouldn't, but felt too right to stop. The robe slipped lower. He traced the bare skin of my back, his touch feather-light but burning. You still haven't told me, I murmured between kisses. What you're hiding. His lips paused against my jaw. His breath hitched. And I felt it again, that flicker of guilt. Tell me, I whispered, not letting him pull away this time. I need to know. He closed his eyes, jaw tight. He's not just some guy. I went still. My fingers loosened their grip. What do you mean? He opened his eyes, haunted now. He's my father's friend. His business partner. He knew about you before I did. The world tilted again. That voice outside the door, the one I thought was just another forgettable fling, was someone far more dangerous. Someone connected to both of us. Someone who could destroy everything. And you let him think. I stopped, breath catching. You let him believe he had a chance. He nodded once, shame crawling up his neck. I wanted to see if you'd choose me. If you'd burn the bridge for me. Tears pricked my lashes. My body was still against his, lips swollen, heart racing, and yet, there it was. The final twist. We hadn't just crossed a line. We jumped off the edge with our eyes wide open. I sat in the quiet after the storm, my fingers still tangled in his shirt, forehead resting against his. The air between us had shifted, less electric now, more grounded. But the intensity hadn't faded. It had simply settled deeper. His arms wrapped around me, holding me like I was something precious, something breakable that he finally had the courage to hold. For once, there were no more games. No teasing. Just breath, warmth, and the weight of everything we'd finally faced. I didn't mean for it to start this way, he said softly, eyes closed. But I don't regret where we ended up. I touched his jaw, brushing my thumb along his cheek. It wasn't a straight path. But maybe it was always ours. He smiled, soft, relieved. Doesn't scare you? What happens now? Everything scares me, I admitted. But not this. Not you. He pulled me closer until I was curled in his lap, my head against his chest, listening to the steady beat beneath. For the first time, it felt like the world outside that room didn't matter. Not the knock. Not the secret. Not even the danger we danced so close to. Because his touch, my breath, the way we held each other, this was real. I don't want to hide anymore, he said. Then we won't. Silence settled, warm and protective. I lifted my head and looked at him, brushing the hair from his forehead. Next time you come into my room, I whispered, lips curving, try knocking. He chuckled, low and quiet. Noted. But if I knock, will you open the door? I kissed him softly. Always. We stayed like that for a long moment, wrapped in something more lasting than heat, something tender, fragile, and fiercely ours. Whatever came next, we'd face it. Together.